Okay, this is take 2. The first time I recorded this, I didn't realize that it was muted this whole time. It was Agatha the whole time. But basically, we are in my room at my house and my dad's, and we are going to be trying to do it here more often. I'm trying to get a good little setup. Theo is with us and she's joining us over here, my little mamas. And I'm trying to figure out if I can do this from home because I am going to be um trying to see if I can stay home more like one day out of the week because right now I'm having no days off and I am just trying to figure out how I can make that work and how that will look and how it'll be good for me. So we're here and we're trying. If you see me look at my laptop a lot, this is new. So we're going to try it. But before we get into anything, let's play that intro. Quick pause, because if you love dark stories that don't flinch, Olympic War isn't a soft love story. It's violent, it's chosen, and it cost everything. Through war, betrayal, and survival, Moonstone fights for devotion that refuses to die. This is a Black, multicultural dystopian series about power, sacrifice, and what rises from the ashes. Olympic War and Phoenix War. Read them wherever books are sold. Hey, Unbothered fam, and welcome back to another episode of Basically Unbothered Recapped. We are getting into it today, and I am so excited. I'm so excited to be here with you guys, and I just finished watching the Love Is Blind reunion today, and I have so I have so many notes, and it was so like it was uneventful in a way and eventful in another way. And that was just, it was quite interesting to me, some of the things that were going on. Um, First, I just want to talk. Let's first get on Vic and Christine because they're just so unproblematic. Even in the show, they're just so calm. There was a point where Nick Lachey asked, do you guys ever had fights? And he says something like, I fight over the fact that he like basketball throws his trash out. And says something like, it frustrates me that she has so many socks and her feet are always cold and she wears socks to bed so we can't footsies. They're so fucking unproblematic and aspire. I don't think I could have that type of relationship. Not that I don't want unproblematic or like a love that way. There's just there's a calmness to them and a sereneness to them that I just don't think I have in myself. But the love that they have for each other is, in fact, really fucking beautiful. And it's nice to know that where other couples couldn't fucking make it work out and where, they couldn't move or whatever, Jordan, we're looking at you. Don't worry, Jordan, we're gonna get to you. But where other couples couldn't figure out moving arrangements and how to live together, they seem to make it work really well. They're living in Columbus, they're living together, they're happily married, they spent the holidays with their family. They're just beautiful. And honestly, Vic is showing Black excellence. He is showing a way to love your woman. And I know someone's going to pop on here and be like, yeah, that's because he's married to a white woman. Maybe. Or maybe his parents just really raised him right and he has a good fucking head on his shoulders and he knows like what to fight for and not what and like what to just leave the fuck alone. That could also be a possibility. But they just they're beautiful. They got inducted into the married couple and they got their own table. And they did get their win back because they finally to get a honeymoon. They finally get to get a honeymoon because, they were so sweet about how they had to go have their wedding in Malibu while everybody else got to have their wedding in Cabo. And Christine says, even my sister says that I'm just so boring to watch on reality TV. And they are going to finally get their honeymoon and fucking deserved because, spoiler alert, They're the only fucking couple that makes it this season. And huh. While we're talking about the only couple that makes it this season, let's get on Jordan and Amber. So Jordan and Amber aren't together, and I don't know if Amber is keeping really quiet about this situation because she doesn't want to embarrass Amber. I mean, if Amber is keeping really quiet about the situation because she doesn't want to embarrass Jordan, or if she's just respecting, taking the high road or whatever, and, realized her flaws. There's a lot of that going on. I think Amber is an amazing person, but I also think she also realized a lot of her flaws in this situation. And it was really sad to hear her talk about the fall of their marriage and her, say that I wanted to make this work. I was willing to make this work. I offered us to go to therapy, and it's just so frustrating that after 3 or 4 months, you just left. And fucking yeah, it is. What do you mean that you guys were only married for 3 or 4 months and you had a bad period and you just wanted to, like, walk away? I I think that yeah, there are some things that are deal breakers. I just don't think that Jordan was ready to be married. And Amber talks about this when they're sitting down and they're talking about it. She says, I just don't think you were ready. I don't think you were ready for the commitment. I don't think you were ready for what it all entails. There's just some things that he just wasn't prepared for. And that's cool. That's great. But don't go on a show where the end goal is to get married. And, the hardest thing about this whole situation is watching Amber break down about Emma. And that's one of the things that's so frustrating to me is that Jordan said yes. And he knew that saying yes was saying yes to Amber and to Emma. And he knew how Amber felt about, you know, committing and how important it is for her not to have another, man walk out of Emma's life and, how guarded she is about that. And then for him to not even really give like to know what he's getting into. And maybe he didn't. Maybe he's not mature enough and that is he kind of gives me that vibe. Like he's a good guy, but he's just not mature enough or ready to be at that level of maturity to understand that when a child is involved, it's a different level. And when I heard her say that he didn't say goodbye to Emma, that was like, come on, man. Like, that's just something you literally can't do. You can't not say goodbye to the kid. And, he said something like, well, maybe I don't know the way that I'm supposed to handle this or whatever. And it's like, maybe you don't fucking know. But maybe that's the problem. Maybe you should fucking know. Maybe that should be something that you do know. And because you don't know, it causes an issue. And because you don't know, it caused problems in your marriage. And Jordan was so ready to talk about Amber's drinking and talk about Amber's partying and this wedding where he was the best man and Amber got wasted and blah 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 blah. And Amber made a good point, like, yo, you're the best man, but no one's perfect. Like, let's be real, no one's perfect. Should Amber have been drinking or getting wasted like that? Absolutely not. Should you have left her in the car by herself? No. You should have come up with a better plan because we go back into this topic about a boy's boy. You have to be there for your friend. And this is why I think that this experiment is so hard for some people is that when you go through the regular progression of a marriage, you spend ideally months to years dating, and then you spend months to years engaged, and then you get married. You've had time to build this relationship for this person to become the most important person to you and for your side relationships, your friendships to sit back and see that and be like, yo, okay, yeah, man's man's is with a new girl now. That's fine. Let's figure it out. But when you're in this situation, when you're in these scenarios, you don't have that opportunity because there's no like you haven't built this. And unless you already have that mentality that this is where I need to be, this person is now the most important person in my life, you are kind of just setting it up for failure, right? You're setting everything up for you to fail. And I think that's what happened here. The way that Jordan viewed Amber wasn't as if we're in this together. He viewed her as, you're something that's getting in my way. You're something that's messing up my best friend's wedding. It didn't seem like there was a lot of love and care that was taken for this. And so many people that I see on TikTok come for Jordan, and Jordan wanting to be, not wanting to leave the city. And I get that. I really do. But even like Nick Lachey called him out and said, "Hey, you chose to be in a relationship with the mother. Why didn't, do you think that that was a problem?" And Jordan says, "No, but truly, everyone is looking around at him and like, yeah, Jordan, it kind of was because you weren't ready. You didn't want to move out of the city. You wanted Amber to move with you. You wanted Amber to uproot her entire life that she's built, the house that she's built with her daughter, uproot her daughter from school because you didn't want to leave the city. Like there's just not a responsibility of thinking like a family man. He was still thinking like he was single. And as frustrating as this is to me, it also calls into question, even though this experiment is beautiful and love is blind in so many ways, not everybody is ready to go from 0 to 100. Not everybody is ready and willing to put these people that they're calling their fiancés or their wives or whatever in a place and position that they should be. Because specifically when we're talking about the men, these things they feel like have to be built. They're not built when it happens so fast. And you'll see this with Jordan. You'll see this with Mike. You'll see this with Alex. These men weren't ready for a commitment that was unbuilt, even though it was built upon in the pods. They wanted a commitment that they could ease into and slowly dip their feet in the water and slowly get to this place. And although that's understood and respected, at this point, we're at season 10 of Love is Blind, and you know what's to come. And so the lack of mental preparation for this just shows throughout all of this. And it truly shows to me throughout Jordan and Amber. I love, you know, Amber singing Jordan's praises and saying that, he isn't a fuck boy like Chris. Also, side note, her giving Chris the business throughout the entire reunion is my favorite part about the reunion. Her keeping her foot on the gas or on Chris's neck is my favorite part of the reunion. And you cannot make me hate Amber. You just can't make me hate Amber. Even in her awareness and everything, she gives a woman who fucked up and a woman who knows and a woman who's trying to be better and is aware of her situation. And you cannot make me hate her. You just can't. But we're going to talk about Connor and Brie because this was a big, big period because it went to Connor and Brie, and then we got to the night Chris was hitting on Brie, and there was just so much. But there was also kind of so little. Chris gave so little. Oh gosh. So we find out that Brie and Connor are together. And honestly, I felt like they were going to be. They complement each other so well. And he's so understanding to Brie's humanness. And I think that there is this issue where we understand a male's humanness, but we don't understand a woman's humanness. And we give a lot of men chances, but we don't give a lot of women chances. And I'm very happy to see that, for once we are displayed a woman who makes mistakes and gets second chances. And I love that for us. I love that we got that. I love that that was what was shown and how much Connor really truly loved her and accepted her and saw her past some of the things that she did. We could talk about how Brittany, for instance, tried and tried and tried again to see past Devante's flaws and everything. And there's no appreciation that Devante gives, but there's appreciation that Brie gives for the way that Connor shows up for her and the way that Connor loves her. And even in the situation with Chris, and I don't know if they've handled this internally before they got to it, I imagine they have. You see him saying, well, Brie told me everything. And that's the other thing, is that, like it or not, Brie is very honest about her feelings. That comes off really bad a lot of the times. But she is. And she's honest with Connor about everything that Chris says. And she also owns up to it. She makes her apologies to Jess. She makes her apologies to Connor about the situation. And there was a lot of explanation. And it kind of felt like the reunion was trying to be like, okay, it's Amber and Emma and Jess, and then it's Brittany, Ashley, and Brie. But not really Brittany, because Brittany was kind of isolated through this situation. But it seemed like they, even though they're saying we're all so close, it seems like they divided it up. Brie does apologize. It doesn't seem like Jess is taking it well. I also say that, as I said before, that situation got a bad edit. And Brie and Pre and Ashley kind of get in the conversation and they say, we didn't expect this. And the Chris that we saw that night was a different Chris. And we were all so dumbfounded and confused that we just didn't know what to do, because who he was throughout the experiment and who he was when they were at vacation was just simply not who he ended up to be. And what are you supposed to do with that? And I completely agree. Like, how do you handle a situation that is like that? Sorry, I'm like messing around with the light. How do you handle a situation that is like that? How do you justify it? How do you make sense of it? The whole 9 yards. Like, what do you do in those situations? And I just don't think that anyone knew. And everyone was just so confused. They're going to be like, why is she continuously playing with this? Because I want to give you guys good lighting. But it was clear that those women just were not well prepared for the storm that kind of came on, and that was Chris in that situation. They did show a clip of Chris commenting on, and I've talked about this before, where Chris kind of commenting on how he didn't care about Connor and he was gonna go for Brie. And Connor is so calm. That man gives earth energy to a fucking T. I immediately need to know what his astrological sign is. But he's so calm and he just says, that's not my friend. The person who did that, whoever this guy is, he's not my friend. And I knew that and I could see that. And I'm okay with understanding that he's just not it. And I love that for him. I love that for him so freaking much. And, Nick and Vanessa, they were pressing and they're like, can't you see how this can be misperceived and how it can look like you're wrong and you're doing all this? And he was just, Chris gave us nothing during this reunion. He literally gave us nothing. He just tight-lipped, zipped his mouth, apologizes to Connor only after Nick Lachey says, yo, you fucked up. Don't you want to apologize to your mans? And he gives this apology, and he gives an apology to Chris. He gives an apology to Jess. And even in thinking about their relationship, there's just, nothing. Learning that Jess was kind to Chris even after said situation, and then she was kind of blindsided by what he was saying about her, is really truly sad to me, because there's just no fucking need. There was no need after he already just destroyed the relationship. There was no need for him to continue to just not give a fuck. Like, there was truly and honestly no need, and he just spent all of his time trying to hurt people. What the fuck is the purpose? I just don't understand. I don't understand this man, Chris, at all. I don't understand what the fuck his purpose is. I don't understand. He mentions insecurity. Jess mentions insecurity about how much money she made versus how much money he was making. And there's no fucking excuse. There's no excuse. No. And he doesn't give us an explanation in comparison to Alex, who once again gives us a full fucking explanation. Oh my God. Alex was just insufferable. Like, the whole reunion, I'm just, why is he still here? Why is he still here? Why did they make him and Ashley have to sit together? Why do we have to fucking constantly hear this shit from Alex's mouth? Because they ask Alex all these questions and he's just so defensive. And you can see that Nick Lachey and Vanessa are so confused as to why he doesn't fucking get it. As are the rest of America, the world. Alex, why don't you get it? Why can you not? And this is the like sign of a pathological liar. And I don't like throwing that shit out there loosely, but Alex is 100% a pathological liar. He is so into his lying that he can't even understand that he's lying. That's insane to me. He is so into this lying. He truly, honestly doesn't understand that he's lying. He has convinced himself that he is right. And he goes on this tirade about, he's so mad because he goes on this tirade about Ashley and how Ashley got her moment yet. And she says, yeah, I woke up that morning. I knew what I wanted to do. My best friend or my sister, I can't remember, was there. And I wrote this thing and she read it and I was like, does this sound good? And I knew that if he rejected me, I wouldn't be able to say it. So yeah, I cut him off. And yeah, I wanted to have my moment. And the fact that people are mad that Ashley wanted to have her moment after she spent her entire screen time patiently listening to this man lie is just insane. She deserved her moment and more. She deserved to have a Serena um Love Island moment. She deserved to stand up, put her middle finger, lick that, tell him he did his big one, tell him he didn't care, tell him he embarrassed herself. She deserved all of that. And the fact that we're just fussing about this small moment, or Alex is fussing about this small moment, sir, you are lucky that that's all she fucking did. You are so lucky. Like, they talk about the situation about the period, and then she's like, can we not talk about it? And he's like, I'm so frustrated. And like, you did so many stupid things. You said so much stupid shit that you're lucky that all the fuck that she did was this. My podcast is not big, but let me tell you, I got shit coming up, like a specialty episode coming up about cheating, about exposing a cheater. I would have been like Ashley. Like, if I were Ashley, I would have just been, hey, I'm about to expose the fuck out of you. I'm going to message all of these girls because now I'm on this public platform. I'm going to get all their information. I'm going to come with receipts. Like, let's go. And she didn't do any of that. She told you about yourself and you were just fucking upset about it. Then he talks about, in the end, because again, Nick Lachey and Vanessa are trying to get him to see where he was wrong. And he spent so much time saying, we're even. We're even, we're even, we're even. There are things that she did wrong too. There are these things, we're even. What? what is his obsession about even? Like, he doesn't want to seem like the bad guy. Even Nick and Vanessa were like, you were so guarded, you wouldn't be vulnerable. And Vanessa says, I feel like your answers were too perfect. You were just trying too hard to be too perfect. And what Ashley wanted was vulnerability. And that's just something that you don't give. And he kind of defensively dismissed that off. But then he says that Ashley wanted to trap him with what? Delusions of the mendacities. The delusions of the mendacities. With what money that you don't have, Alex, would a successful woman with a beautiful home taking care of herself need to trap you for? What do you think that you offer to the table besides lies, mediocre looks, and a failed soccer career? Do you think that you offer to the table for someone to try to trap you? You're not a catch. You couldn't even catch the soccer balls that were being kicked to you by a football player. You're not a catch. Give it up. Let it go. No one, it's going to take you a hot ass minute to find another girl. After all of this comes, I'm not, you know what? No, serial killers can find women. It's not. But, and even when they even went to talk about his type, and he mentioned that finding out that she was blonde and not brunette was the first leg, oh, what did he say? Domino to fall. Oh my gosh. You're so, imagine you have a beautiful, hot, successful, calm woman that is willing to marry you. You who got caught up in lies, you who actual MLS players are calling out because of how fucked up your stories are. You have the mendacity to say that she wasn't your type and that was the beginning. I want to be really clear on something. If what you're looking to find is your type, why are you on Love is Blind? Why? And you know what? That goes out for your roommate too, Devante. Because I've seen some of the girls. Oh, Devante got tea. I've seen some of the girls that Devante is like dating now. And the two of them being like quasi roommates, it's just fucking hilarious. But like, ugh. And Devante's bomb that he dropped is diabolical. And he dropped it like it was the best news in the world. And I'm just like, Devante, nobody wants to hear this from you. You have a baby on the way? That shit should have been kept to your. This is what I'm saying. People get like mad at me when we talk about like black men. This black man hates himself so much that he exploits that, or he projects that onto Brittany, that he doesn't even date women of color. He only dates white women. And that is a clear display of self-hatred for who you are and a part of you. And I don't know if his dad is black and that's the problem, because we know that he doesn't have a good relationship with his dad. But his intent was simply to hurt Brittany, which is terrible because Brittany's father is there. Shout out to Brittany's dad. Brittany's dad brought Connor's suit down for him and was just fantastic. And he is the definition of what you want. He was kind to Devante, held Devante accountable, but like was like, I want to make sure you're okay. I want to make sure you're good. You're getting a lot of hate. You're getting a lot of this. And for Devante to immediately spit in his face after receiving this kindness and to be like, oh, yeah, fuck you and your daughter, I'm having a kid, was just, it was crazy. He did so much stuff to Brittany. You know, there was so much misleading onto Brittany. There were so many things that he just, I feel so sad for her because they talk about the timeline. They talk about how they decide to cancel the wedding. And from us viewers, it definitely, we could see this. But we also did get to see the like interviews. He did the interviews and said this after he promised Brittany these things. He did the interviews and said this, and he just continued to play with her. And then the Austin trip comes out, and you're just like, what the fuck? In the Austin trip, you learn that like Brie, Priyanka, and Ashley went on this trip to go see this artist, and then they hang out with Devo, and Devante just he inconveniences him these women. Like, they invite him onto this trip. He's not honest with them. He puts them in a bad position. And I want to be fair, Ashley and Brie and Priyanka need to do a better job of like being a good friend to their female friends. And maybe they need a little bit more male hate in their life. I don't know. I don't know how we get there, but they do need to do a way better job of being a better friend to their friends, because whatever the fuck this is not it. It's just not it. And the worst part is that Devante puts them in a bad position, because they were supposed to stay with him. Everybody was supposed to have their own Airbnbs, but the girls were going to stay with Priyanka for the first day. And then Devante's plans fall through. He can't get the Airbnb confirmation. He doesn't plan this out, and he has to stay with Brie, and it makes Brittany like very uncomfortable, and nobody was honest with Brittany. And that's just the really fucked part about all of this, is just that this entire time, nobody is honest with Brittany. And Brittany is sitting thinking that this man loves her. And Devante knows. The other girls know. The fucking world knows. And Brittany is just like, we're still good. We're still vibing. And Devante is just, so much has come out about Devante. And he's been called out by ex-girlfriends. He wants to give off this perception that he's a good guy and all of these things, but he just doesn't. And it's sad to see such insecurity and self-hatred, and a need to not only be honest, but like in an odd way, low-key kind of hurt and drag this woman along, and then to announce to the world that you're in a relationship and announce to the world that you're having a kid. And I truly don't have words for this entire situation. I wish that I did, but I honestly do not. I don't have words for this. It was too much. I feel so sad for Brittany. I feel so sad for what she's going through. I feel incredibly sad for the situation that she's been put in. And I wish that she was treated better, and she wasn't. I wish that all of the love and care that she got was reciprocated, and it wasn't. And I wish that she had a man who was honest with her. Even when they're rehashing things, and she talks about how, you know, pointing out things that he said, kind of like in his exit interview at the finale, about how I can't remember, there's something that he said about who she was that he didn't like, but she talked about the wedding dress. And the wedding dress as an excuse not to marry someone is just, it will go on my list of what the fuck is this? How did this go into your mind as this is an excuse to not be with someone? And it goes back to what I said about these men not really, these men not really having a trust developed and vulnerability developed. They're people who want to be coddled and slowly work into that. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that inherently. I just don't think that you should go on a show where everything is, gas to the pedal, pedal to the metal. We're doing this shit, foot under the fire. Everything happens so quickly. And you know this if you don't have the preparation to be in that position. And clearly Brittany knew what she was getting into, and she wanted to manifest this, and she wanted to put her best foot forward in doing so. And so she set herself up for success. And penalizing her for knowing that she was going to find a man. And she, like, that's the hard part. You're penalizing her for knowing that she was going to find a man that she found because she wanted to get her own wedding dress. And I don't know what you think this wedding dress is supposed to be a representation of you, because what the fuck? This wedding dress is for her. Who cares if she got the wedding dress before she met you? No one cares. There's several people who have their wedding dress picked out and everything before they meet the man. And the fact that this like brings up a fear in you is an issue, but you don't have a fear of having a kid with another woman after less than a year. Speaking of kids, we get to Emma and Mike, and I don't know. There is, I don't know if this season, if the men are just trying to like get back for all of these other seasons where the men were like so wronged or whatever, and everybody was talking about how terrible they were. But Mike has trust issues too. And he announces that he's been in a relation for 7 months, and I'm just like, none of these men learn. None of these men learn. I even make a comment in like my final thoughts about how all these all the men didn't learn, and the women were still growing while and working on themselves, while they just put themselves in another relationship without fully taking the time to really understand where they could have went wrong, where they could have been doing wrong. They didn't learn. They just dumped themselves into another thing. And it's wild to me that all of these men say that they love you and they want to marry you, and they get all the way up to the altar and they actually propose to you. And you spend a couple of months grieving an engagement and then move on. That's just, and maybe it's me. Maybe it's because I'm seeing it from the woman's side, and I can only see it from the woman's side. I'm not a dude. I hate to break it to you guys, but I'm not a guy. I can only see it from the woman's side, and I can only, feel it from the woman's perspective. And it's just devastating to see. And it's devastating to see just how little trust they had in the women that they proposed to. And even with Emma, Mike, again, Emma just kind of remains casual. She keeps it to herself. She's keeping it cute. And I love this for her. She's not the type of person that's going to air out all your shit. She's just like, okay. But Mike talks about how they apparently agreed to say no beforehand because he says, quote unquote, I just knew that this wasn't enough time for her to say yes to us having kids. Wild take, rewind. If we go back to what he said at the altar, he demanded to know if she was ready to have kids. Why, if you had previously had a conversation about saying no because you didn't think that she was ready to have kids, why would you then, on a stage in front of your loved ones and her loved ones, call her out like that? And then why would you not believe her when she gave you an answer? And that was the interesting thing, is that Emma says, I wouldn't have said yes to you if I didn't see kids in the future. I saw kids in the future. And I love how she owned that and said, maybe I could have been more forthcoming. Maybe I could have been, said that out. But I thought that you knew that if I was saying yes to you, I was saying yes to kids. And that's what I thought. I think that's what America thought. And even Vanessa Lachey says, this is why we tell people not to have conversations before the altar. Because when you have conversations before the altar, you can get in your head and you say all these things. But when you're in the dress and you're in the thing and you're ready and your emotions are there, you realize differently. You realize that love isn't logical. Now, there is an aspect of logic that needs to be in love, but love isn't logical. And Mike wanted logic. And he even said it, I want logic. It didn't make logical sense. And Emma wanted love to be emotional. And relationships need a sense of logic in it. I'm not going to disagree with that. I've had friends who've been in relationships that, I've been one. If I focus too much on the emotions and not how does this like work out, it doesn't work. But the fact that you didn't trust her enough and believe her enough that when she said, "This is how I feel. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm saying," I would not have said this. And there was no acknowledgement. There was no acknowledgement like, "Oh, shit, maybe I should have looked more into this," or, "Oh shit, maybe I should have thought more about what she was saying when she was saying it and the commitment and everything like that." There was no acknowledgement to that. He was just like, "Oh, well, I moved on. Well, you weren't gonna give me what I needed." And I think the bigger discussion in this season the most is just how do we get these men to become more vulnerable? And I know a lot of this falls into the patriarchy and what men and women unfortunately have taught men through our actions, through our existence in the patriarchy. But there's so much insecurities and distrust in this season. So much of not willing to believe this person that is your partner. And you see how it works when it works, right? With Vic and Christine, a issue that was a topic of, conversation was she's going to be a parent to a mixed race kid. And you see how they talk through that and they trust the situation and they trust that they will figure it out. There's like a guarantee. Specifically with Mike, there was like a guarantee. He needed a guarantee of something. And a relationship is not a guarantee, and a life isn't a guarantee. I've said this to so many people. I can't have kids. I was with a guy that I was dating for a really long time, and we kept trying to have kids, and it didn't work out. And I thought it was me for so long. And then I had my fibroid surgery. And I learned that I had 56 of those bad boys all up in there, and that obviously created a lot of infertility issues. And it was a major surgery that I'm still recovering from. And I've talked about this before, and I've talked about this on Basically Unbothered as well. Major surgery that I'm still recovering from. I document it on my TikTok all the time. I actually just took a picture that I want to post onto Instagram. I talk about it all the time. And I have like an IUD, and I'm also on progesterone because I can't have a period. If I have a period, I risk these fibroids that had endometriosis babies, because that's why I have both. I have endometriosis and fibroids. And I risk the chance of it coming back. And it was so severe. And the amount of suffering that I went through in the last like 6 months, not of this, but like before my surgery, I had to get iron infusions. I worked in so much freaking pain for so long that there were several times that they sent me home because there was nothing I could do. I had crazy, painkillers. I had muscle relaxers I had to take at night. There was so much going on that if I have a period again, I risk it all coming back, which to me says I can't have kids. I can have kids if I want to risk putting my body through another traumatic event. That's not an option for me. So I can't have kids. And I want to bring this all back to the situation. I'm saying this to say like the idea that, Emma is so unique and not in her fear of having kids and the need of a promise to be able to have kids. I've said this to so many people. You could get a healthy woman who wants to have kids and never be able to. There is no like guarantees in this situation. You could find a woman who you love, who says she wants to start a family. You guys want to have a whole soccer team or whatever, who knows? And it could be you. You can't have kids. There are other ways to start families. And, Emma mentioned that. She mentioned how she was definitely open for adoption because she was adopted and she wanted to give that special gift to other people. But going in and having that mentality without the flexibility of knowing that life can truly happen is just setting yourself up for failure. At the end of the day, we don't have control over a lot of things. And as much as that sucks, we can't go in and be like, this is it. This is going to be it. If I don't have this, this is the end of it. Because you could do everything right and still not get it. And you pushing Emma away, Mike pushing Emma away, Mike making up all of these things and scenarios in his head and not even listening to the woman that's in front of his face as many times. And he says, I didn't know that's what you mean. I didn't know that's what you meant. There were so many times throughout this process that Emma said, I can see myself having a family with you. I see us having our life together. I see our life together. And when I see our life together, kids are involved. She said that to him, and he still, to me, made her feel less than a woman. He got her and he wanted to convince her to be 100%. And he tells us all that that's not what he wanted to do. That's not what he wanted to do. But it's clear that that is what he wanted to do, because if he didn't feel like she was 100%, if she was 99.9% sure, he wasn't going to say yes. And that's just an unfair expectation. For instance, this girl he's with for 7 months could say yes, right? Heard. They could get in a relationship, her career could take off, her something could take off, and then she could automatically decide that she doesn't. And I agree you should find people who your things line up, but you should also give people time to surprise you. And there's the fear, especially in all these men in this season, that they didn't want to give these women time to surprise them. They didn't want to give the time and the space for these women to show them how beautiful and how amazing they really are. And this is one of the things I always love about Connor is Connor didn't get the beautiful, amazing part of Brie, and he loved her through it. And these men got beautiful, amazing parts of women. Maybe not all of it. There was so much more that you get in a relationship when you continue to build on it. And they walked away. And it was just a lot. It was a lot to see a lot of these women kind of go through it. I'm not team Brie. I'm not team Ashley. I'm not team Priyanka. But to see them all go through this and put their best foot forward and be vulnerable and be open and share these big stories with them, and still not to be trusted after they've opened themselves so much to these men and to be dismissed and for these men to move on. It was devastating, and to me it was the saddest part of the reunion. But my final thoughts of the reunion is Alex still sucks. That man still sucks. He's not going to survive this. TikTok has been going in on him. Imagine with the reunion, they're still going to be going on him. He's not going to survive this. Uh, Chris is so afraid to speak, and I will give grace. Was I think Chris has a drinking problem, and I think that it'll come out later. And he's working a system and he's working his way through it, and a lot of his actions and things that he did happened because he was drunk, which is not an excuse. But I think that's one of the reasons why he shut his fucking mouth, was that he's just constantly being humbled and he doesn't have anything to say. I wish he had more to say, but his silence was like, I don't have anything to say about my behavior because it was terrible. You're 100% right. You're 100% right, and you should be afraid to speak up, because you when you try to do words, it doesn't work out. Devante and Alex's friendship is weird. I love the girls' friendship, specifically with Amber and Jess and Emma, and how beautiful and amazing they are. And they talk about how they were helping Amber get through her divorce and all of that. But it was interesting that Love is Blind tried to show us all of the contestants that we have and all of these love connections, and this is how many people are married, and this how many people didn't get married, and yada 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 yada. And the truth is that there's still a flaw in this design. And I know that we need to have good TV. And I think that you can have healthy relationships while still having good TV. there's still a flaw in this design, and I think it needs to be examined more. But I'm gonna leave us on the last good thing, the beautiful note of the night, which is Jessica and Harmal, and how apparently they connected in the pause, and then something happened and he left. And they reconnected and they're dating, and he is everything that Chris wasn't. He is giving her all of the love, all of the flowers, all of the accolades, everything she deserved. And I love to see it, and I'm so happy to see it. And to end on a happy note, sometimes, like sometimes when this door closes, it means that something else is coming. And Jess handled the situation so beautifully. She didn't create chaos. She didn't do any of that. She let a situation that wasn't meant for her walk away, knowing her worth, knowing who she was, knowing what she deserved, and a beautiful situation that was perfect for her, that probably should have been hers, but maybe she needed to learn some lessons along the way, came to her, and it was beautiful. That's it, guys. That's all I got. I'm very happy to be done with Love is Blind this season. I want to see more love. I want to see less blind idiocracy. I want to see more love. Please give me that in Love is Blind. I hope. Some little notes before we get going, though. Next week, we will be covering The Secret Life of Mormon Wives. I'm going to break it up. I'm going to do part A and part B. Part B might come later because we are also going to be covering The Bachelorette with Taylor Frankie Paul. And I'm so excited because a guest that has been on Basically Unbothered before is coming back to cover this with me. And it is my sister, my friend, Maya, who was on the episode Digital Nomads. She is going to be coming back and covering The Bachelorette with me. And I'm so freaking excited. I can't wait to do this with her. I've known her for most of my life, and she just has such a personality, and I think that this is going to go so well. And I haven't watched The Bachelor almost never. I like watch clips with my mom or episodes with my mom. So I'm so excited to go down this journey, and I'm more excited to go down this journey with her, and so happy that she wanted to go down this journey with me. So those are things that are going to be coming up for you guys in the rest of March. I cannot wait to get to show you things that are coming up. And also for Basically Unbothered, there's so much that's still coming. To all of my loyal people, thank you so much for continuing to listen to Basically Unbothered. Please don't forget to subscribe and like and review and share and tell everybody about this crazy, opinionated Afro-Caribbean, Afro-West Indian woman that you love listening to. Until next time, guys, thank you and bye.
Pure Tifa Podcast.